Hey everyone, my name is Sean, and in today's video, I'm going to be telling you what are the best hand traps to play for Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel Season 4 in a competitive format. And the format has been very diverse, and if you want to see what the best decks are for the format, there is a video uploaded to my channel, which you can go ahead and check out. But today, we're just going to be focusing on hand traps. Before we go into the main segment of the video, I just want to remind people that this was recorded on April 2nd, and in 2 days time there will be some new cards added to the game that might affect the meta here or there. I'm not expecting these cards to really do a whole lot to the meta, but it's still cool nonetheless to have fresh cards in the game that people can play, so I'm really looking forward to how these cards will impact. That being said, without further ado, let's go and look at the best hand traps. And I'm not going to have any build up here. Here is the list. This is what it is. Just to remind people who didn't see my best deck video, this was based on looking at tournament results of over 50 tournaments from the last season and seeing what people were playing, and this is what we found. So let's start from the bottom of the list, and we have at the bottom of the list a variety of good cards, but they really can all be grouped together as anti-graveyard control cards. We have Skullmeister, Dimension Shifter, DD Crow, and Ghost Spell, and kinda technically Lancia as well, can stop a lot of banishing from the grave as well. Graveyard based resource management is very important in the game right now. Drytron, Eldritch, Tri-Brigade Zodiac, and many other decks rely on using the graveyard. Phantom Knight's just coming to mind. Rely on using the graveyard as a resource pile to get more and more summons and more resources for their engines, and so there is a lot of people playing anti-graveyard based cards in the format right now. However, they're not incredibly generic, and some cards work in some situations, whereas in other situations they don't work too well, and so a lot of people are preferring to go for more generic cards, but these are still very significant in the meta. Skullmeister is particularly really good in and against Eldritch decks, as it is a zombie negate that negates a card that activates in the graveyard. Whereas DD Crow is really good in Tri-Brigade because it is a wing beast monster that can also just remove a card from the graveyard overall, which is really nice. Then you've got things like Ghost Spell, which is a combination of kind of a more powerful Skullmeister that will actually work for you, and that can do a little bit more than that. And then you've also got cards like blowout cards like D-Shifter and Lancia that people are testing out and playing. Now, not every deck can support Lancia and support D-Shifter being used, but and sometimes they can work against you because they can also stop you from using banishing or having your card sent to the graveyard will be banished as per D-Shifter's effect. But those decks that can use these cards use them really well. And against certain decks and matchups, just throwing one of these down can actually just really shut off your opponent's deck and are really good to use. Towards the bottom of the list as well, we have Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is mostly here because she's dropped in popularity, as she isn't really doing too much in the current format. She targets one monster on the field, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad, and she can only be used during the opponent's main phase. Effect Veiler really only sees use right now where there are decks that can use her in other ways besides her own hand trap effect, such as decks that run Christian Halki Firebacks and then Celine, the mighty master, the Queen of the Master of Magicians, where she can be revived and used to make it into a Link 4. Other than that though, Effect Veiler has dropped down significantly, where she was incredibly popular towards the start of the last format. Going down from the bottom tier, we're going into the now middle tier, and we've got Drawn Lot Bird, Impermanence, and Nibiru. Impermanence we'll start off with, which I spelled wrong, I spelled Impermanence there, just notice in there, haha, my apologies. But Impermanence here is better Veiler. Why Impermanence is really good is because it's a trap card, and it cannot be negated by the same things that say an Effect Veiler can be negated by, that are other cards that are really popular played here, that you'll see when I do my video for the best tech cards and the best board breakers. But Impermanence is also still kind of weak for the format, where against a lot of matchups that are popular right now, negating the monster effect on the field by targeting it isn't really going to do a whole lot. It's good, but it's not enough to say stop your opponent from popping off in many ways, and a lot of people can just play through a single Impermanence. In addition, The benefit to impermanence is one that you can use more than one impermanence at a time. But and then also you can also set impermanence to do a spell and trap negate as well if you can set that up. But it's not really having a lot of relevance. In addition, there are many decks that are putting monsters on the other player's field so that they can't use cards like impermanence. And therefore, if you have other decks, other cards like, say, a Gamma or your opponent's an Nibiru and you've got a token, your impermanence is no longer live. So it's good, but it's still got a lot of weaknesses right now. Then we have Drawn, Lock, Burn, and Nibiru. Drawn, Lock, Burn, and Nibiru are very, very powerful cards for the current format. There are many decks that summon more than 5 times that Nibiru can just absolutely break their board for you. And there's many decks that like to draw a crazy amount of cards that Draw and Lock Burn can just shut down. But why are they not being played as more than that? Well, what we're finding is that the format is being very, very much defined by the use of Max Z. And because of Max Z and its ability to allow you to draw more cards, people are opting to play big blowout cards like Nibiru, Draw and Lock Burn, and even Lancia to a degree as only one-ofs instead of playing them at 3. That way they don't clog their hands with too many copies of the same card, as these are once per turn cards that really don't do much after the first or second go of the duel. So these cards are very, very powerful, but a lot of people are only playing just one copy of them. Where this gets really, really interesting is when we consider the top 3 hand traps of the format. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring being at number 1, Max Z at number 2, and then Gamma, Psyframe Gear Gamma at number 3. What we have here, and what's very interesting, is that these cards have almost developed their own meta, regardless of the deck-based meta in the game right now. Because these cards all interact with one another, while also trying to affect your opponent and their main deck strategy as well. Let's start off with the most impactful card, being Max Z. Max Z, of course, being a card that allows you to draw more cards every time your opponent does a special summon. And a lot of people are trying to be prepared to counter Max Z. And cards that can do that are also Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring and Gamma. Both of these cards can counter Max Z really, really well. And so a lot of people are actually choosing to hold Ash Blossom just to negate their opponent's Max Z if they don't have another way to negate it, say as Gamma or maybe other cards that you will see in future lists of this in different videos. That being said, Max Z can also work really, really well against Gamma, where if your opponent uses a Gamma against you, you can chain Max Z, and because they're about to special summon 2 monsters, you could use that to get a draw from your deck, and then your Max Z is live. So it has weaknesses to these other hand traps, but can also work against these other hand traps, which is really fascinating to me, and you've really got to kind of consider which of these cards you're going to use when you are doing your deck building. We're going to move on to Gamma now, and Gamma being a really, really powerful card, however is not as flexible and easy to use as Ash Blossom and Max Z, and some people are choosing to play Gamma, some people are not playing it at all. Some people are just playing 3 Ash and 3 Max Z and see that as the most optimal, as these 2 cards are more reliable in a lot more situations. But Gamma is still really good nonetheless, and is pretty much nearly arguably the most powerful hand trap on the list, because it not only negates a monster effect, but it destroys the card too, which is really, really powerful because it gets that resource away from your opponent's board, so they can't use it as a resource or from their hand. Gamma is good again because it also can negate Max Z and Ash, but what's great about Gamma versus Ash is that while Ash can negate Gamma, Gamma is not a hard once per turn. So if your opponent negates your Gamma, it will be negated for that chain, sure, but then once the chain is over, you can just use the Gamma again, and therefore your Gamma is live and they've wasted their Ash Blossom. So it has really good advantages in the format. And of course, if you are playing a deck that uses a lot of spell cards as your starters, such as Fire Formation Tenki, you can hold Gamma in your hand, bait out your opponent's Max Z or bait out your opponent's Ash, and then you get 2 monsters on the field that can be used for, say, a Link summon or for an XZ summon, because you use a Summon Driver and a Gamma to the field. It's a really, really good hand trap. And then of course there's Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, by far the most popular hand trap in the game right now, and the most popular card in the world easily, and I do not see this card changing unless it gets banned or limited. It's just really reliable. Again, as kind of alluded to, Ash Blossom works against so many decks right now, but also she counters Maxi, which is very powerful, being that you can actually choose to hold it for Maxi rather than say negate a different effect is really ideal, because you can expect it. You can use Ash Blossom reactively when you're setting up your board, as well as going second, which makes it really powerful. And as said, Ash can technically negate Gamma, which is also good in some situations, because if you're playing an effect which is really powerful and you want to protect it from being destroyed by Gamma, even though you're not going to get rid of the Gamma permanently, being able to protect that key card can be really valuable and important to you being able to make sure your combo goes off. So we have this very unique diversity in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel right now, where the hand traps themselves are their own meta, and I think that's really fascinating. I myself right now I'm just using a combination of the top 4 hand traps, where I'm always playing 3 Maxi, 3 Ash, maybe Gamma, sometimes not, depending on what my starters are, and then I'm playing Nibiru as well, whereas the others are not doing too much for me right now, unless they have synergy otherwise. For example, DD Crow being a wing beast monster works nicely in Tri Brigade, and Skullmeister being a zombie can kind of flirt into Eldritch a bit, so it's not too bad there. But really right now, this is what the list looks like. Ash Blossom being the best card in the game, followed by Maxi, and then the rest kind of coming further down the list. So those are the best hand traps in the game right now, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this analysis. Tune in next time, probably tomorrow, where I'll be looking at the best tech cards in the game. And this is going to be really interesting to look at, because a lot of the good tech cards in the game right now are in response to how popular the hand traps are in the game right now. So really, hopefully you will join me for that analysis, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Let me know down below, are you playing hand traps? What cards are you playing overall, and what do you think about the current meta? I'll see you soon. Take care.